I'm going to read and analyze To an Athlete Dying Young by A. E. Hausman. The time you won your town the race, we cheered you through the marketplace. Man and boy stood cheering by, and home we brought you shoulder high. Today the road all runners come, shoulder high we bring you home, and set you at your threshold down, townsman of a stiller town. Smart lad to slip betimes away from fields where glory does not stay. And early though the laurels grow, it withers quicker than the rose. Eyes the shady night has shut, cannot see the record cut, and silent sounds no worse than cheers, after earth has stopped the ears. Now you will not swell the rout of lads that wore their honors out, runners whom renown outran, and the name died before the man. So set before its echoes fade the fleet foot on the sill of shade, and hold to the low lintel up the still defended challenge cup, and rounded that early laureled head will flock to gaze the strengthless dead, and find unwithered on its curls the garland briefer than a girl's. So basically the author is talking about an athlete who's died young, like the title implies. But instead of being sad about this, he implies that it's a good thing. So I'm going to take you through each stanza and analyze it on what the author is saying. So the first stanza starts out being pretty happy. It says, "We cheered you through the marketplace. Men and boys stood cheering by." So this is saying that he has won his race, and so the whole town is cheering his name and cheering him on. But quickly that changes when you get to the second stanza. It turns from happy to sad really fast in this poem. This second stanza says, "Today the road all runners come, shoulder high we bring you home." So in this is talking about they're bringing him home like his funeral. They're carrying him to his final home, to a graveyard. And then it says, "And set you at your threshold down." This is again talking about putting the casket in the grave. Townsman of a stiller town. So pretty much this whole stanza is talking about the athlete's death. So this poem goes from really happy in the first stanza to really sad really quick, talking about winning all these championships and then quickly turning around to his funeral. So even though it turns to sad kind of in the second stanza, and the third it turns back to happy. It goes like this. "Smart lad to slip betimes away from fields where glory does not stay, and early though the laurel grows, it withers quicker than the rose." So this is saying he is a smart lad for dying young. Even though it seems bad, the author thinks it's a good thing, because he says glory does not stay. Even though he has won all these championships and he is an accomplished athlete and the whole town loves him right now, eventually that will fade away and wither. And after that happens, he will just be kind of lonely because he doesn't have his glory that he has now. Because he dies right now, he will still have his glory. So we see this further in the fourth stanza, as it says, "Eyes the night has shut, cannot see the record cut, and silence sounds worse than cheers, after earth has stopped the ears." So this is saying that because he died, he cannot see his record be diminished, and he cannot see people beat his accomplishments, and he no longer be the champion and the one that's cheered for. And then in the fifth, it goes on. It says, "Now you will not swell the rout of lads that wore their honors out, runners whom Rion outran, and the name died before the man." So in the fifth, it's talking about a man who doesn't die young. It's saying that his accomplishments will die, but the man will live on, and that he will live on and be lonely because he does not have all of his accomplishments with him. He watches all of his things get, like, all of his glory fade, like it said in the second. Now we go on to the sixth stanza. So set before the echoes fade, the fleet foot on the sill of shade, and hold to the low lintel up, the still defending challenge cup. So in this one, it's talking about before the echoes fade. It's saying that he will be buried, and before, like, his glory, everyone still remembers all of his accomplishments. He's going to be buried with everything he has, everyone in everyone's mind. The still defended Challenge Cup. He still is the winner of the Challenge Cup, and no one has beat him yet. It's just happened like recently. So that everyone still has it fresh in their minds as he is going into his grave. So the author says this is a good thing because he is more famous that he died in the midst of his glory instead of dying later in life when he's not as famous. Okay, and in the last stanza, it reads, and round that early laureled head will flock to gaze the strengthless dead, and find unwithered on its curls the garland briefer than a girl's. So this is saying, like, the town will flock to gaze at the guy. Since it's a funeral, the whole town flocks to look at him. And then it says, find unwithered on its curls. This is talking about on his head, he has some garland. And then garland briefer than a girl's. So it's talking about a flower garland that's known for withering very quickly. But however, it says unwithered because he is getting buried. So it's still fresh, and it will go in. He will get buried with this fresh garland, and everyone will remember it as being fresh and unwithered. This is like symbolizing his victories and his fame, that all of his accomplishments will go with him unwithered and fresh, and everyone will remember him for that instead of something that he might do later in his life. So pretty much uh, this is just talking about this athlete, and it's the author is pretty much finding silver linings for, even though that he is dying young, that his fame will be with him forever, because his silver lining is that he won't have to grow up and get out of that fame. And being from a small town, you can definitely see this happen to many people. You're in your high school and you're playing sports and you receive a lot of fame. But when you think about it, once you graduate, all of that's over. So since this guy died when he's in the midst of his fame, he still has that glory, and it will be with him forever instead of it just going away after you get done and graduate.